Number 7. Michael Packard. On June the 11th of 2021, Massachusetts man Michael Packard had a brush with death reminiscent of the biblical Jonah when he was taken in the mouth of a humpback whale off the coast of Cape Cod. The commercial lobster diver was in about 45 feet of water when he felt a powerful blow, which he compared to being hit by a truck. Everything went dark as he struggled to find his bearings. Packard initially thought he'd been attacked by a shark, but then realized the creature didn't have teeth. It was then that he thought to himself, "Oh my God, I'm in the mouth of a whale," as the seconds ticked by, compressed by the mammal's crushing mouth. Packard believed he was going to die by suffocation. However, he then saw the light as the whale shook its head and threw him out. His crewmate, who was driving the boat and following his dive, saw Packard resurface as the whale retreated. Packard emerged from the harrowing experience with a dislocated knee for which he was treated at a Cape Cod hospital. Marine wildlife experts weighed in on the incident and deemed it entirely accidental. Once a humpback or any other type of baleen whale opens its mouth and lunges through the water to filter feed, it might not always be able to avoid or detect what's in its path. While arguably the most outstanding, the incident hadn't been Packard's first close call. More than a decade prior, he'd survived a plane crash in Costa Rica, in which several people died. He was on the verge of death as well when he was found in the jungle 2 days after the accident. Number 6. Alicia Ramsey. In the summer of 2020, Alicia Ramsey was taking part in the Ningaloo Discovery Whale Shark Snorkeling Tour off the coast of Western Australia. At some point during the trip, her group was approached by a humpback whale calf, with the mother following it close behind. Ramsey ended up swimming between the two animals. The mother, after possibly perceiving the 30-year-old as a threat, struck her with one of its massive fins. Ramsey remembered feeling as if she'd been punched and only realized the extent of her injuries when she was back on the boat. Her ribs had been severely damaged, and barnacles on the whale's fin had grazed her skin. She was taken to Exmouth Hospital before being airlifted to the trauma ward at the Royal Perth Hospital. Ramsey was treated and headed towards a full recovery, but her doctors told a media outlet that her internal injuries had been consistent with those seen in people struck by a car. Number 5. Unknown diver. Just days prior to Ramsey's violent encounter, another diver was severely hurt by 2 humpback whales while exploring the Ningaloo Reef with the same tour operator. The group was less than a mile from shore when the unnamed 29-year-old woman was crushed between the colossal marine animals. The tour operators described it as a freak accident and believed that the whales, a mother and its calf, may have been spooked by other animals in the water, like orcas or sharks. It's also possible that the mother had attacked the diver as an overprotective response. Others in her group were also hurt, as the whales swiped them with their tails and fins. One man was flung out of the water while a woman suffered a torn hamstring. Their injuries, however, were far less severe than those sustained by the diver that had been sandwiched between the whales. She was in a lot of pain upon being rescued from the water. She was airlifted to a Perth hospital in serious condition, with fractured ribs and internal bleeding. According to subsequent updates, doctors were able to stabilize her and she wasn't in life-threatening danger. It's unclear how hers and Ramsey's encounters would influence the practice of swimming with humpback whales in the future. At the time, it was undergoing a trial period in the region. It was regarded as safe even though the marine giants can weigh 6 times more than an elephant and grow to be longer than a semi-trailer. Number 4. Joe Howlett. In 2017, a Canadian lobster fisherman was killed by a North Atlantic right whale moments after he'd freed it from a rope entanglement. For nearly 15 years, Howlett had been using his knowledge of knots and ropes to free the endangered mammals, of which only about 500 individuals still exist in the wild. 59-year-old Howlett had reportedly been responsible for saving about 24 whales. On July the 5th, he and other members of his Campobello whale rescue team set off on a coordinated rescue effort in which they were joined by other specialists from the New England Aquarium and the Canadian Whale Institute. Howlett headed out on a vessel from Campobello Island, New Brunswick. It had been a rough few weeks for the whale population in the region, as 7 individuals had been found dead, either from being struck by ships or in other incidents. Howlett and the rescuers reached the animal and successfully freed it. Moments later, the whale made a big flip and struck Howlett. The largest North Atlantic right whales can weigh over 110 tons, which is close to the weight of an average single-story, unfurnished American house. Howlett's body crumbled under the animal's immense power. His passing was lamented by his team and others involved in whale rescue, as well as by the Federal Fisheries Department, who deemed him irreplaceable. Number 3. Capsizing off the coast of San Diego. In 2014, Captain Chichi Sayer and her passenger, Dale Frink, were on a whale-watching trip off the coast of San Diego. They were observing some blue whales as they were feeding on krill from what they'd estimated was a safe distance. Suddenly, one of the creatures lunged towards the boat with its gigantic mouth open. Sayer was afraid that it would bite into the rear of her vessel. The blue whale, scientifically known as Balaenoptera musculus, is the largest animal known to have ever existed. It can weigh up to 220 short tons, which makes it heavier than the Statue of Liberty, not including the pedestal. At a maximum of 100 feet, it's longer than 2 school buses standing in front of each other. As the whale came down, Sayer's 23-foot-long boat started overturning. It was then that Frink grabbed his camera and started filming. He and Sayer were dumped in the water about 12 miles from the coast, but neither of them had sustained significant injuries. Another boater reported the accident and helped them out of the water. According to the Coast Guard, a commercial salvage vessel was called to right the floundered boat. Today's topic was requested by Cass Lusk and Vincent Tiano. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Rainer Schimpf. In 2019, Rainer Schimpf was documented Port Elizabeth Harbour's Sardine Run off the coast of South Africa. The Sardine Run is the largest animal migration event in the Southern Hemisphere. Whales, seals, penguins, dolphins and sharks work together to rally the fish into bait balls for easy catching. 51-year-old Schimpf, who worked as a dive tour operator, would document the run every year. While filming a shark as it was going through the bait ball, Schimpf was suddenly enveloped in darkness and felt great pressure on his hip. He was inside the mouth of a Bride's whale, an animal that can grow to be 50 feet long. There was nothing that he could do to break free from the whale's massive jaws. Schimpf held his breath and hoped that the animal wouldn't take him to greater depths, which would have undoubtedly ended his life. It was the most dangerous aspect of his predicament, as it was impossible for the creature to swallow him. Bride's whale is part of the baleen whale family, and as such doesn't have teeth, but baleen plates suited for trapping small creatures like plankton, krill, or sardines. Moreover, its esophagus is smaller than the size of a basketball. Not even the enormous blue whale, which is part of the same family, can swallow a human. Fortunately, Schimpf was released after a few seconds and was unhurt. A photographer on a second boat managed to capture the terrifying moments, and an image of Schimpf halfway inside the whale's mouth subsequently became viral. Number 1. Sinking of the Essex. In writing Moby Dick, considered a masterpiece of American literature, author Herman Melville drew inspiration from the real-life story of the Essex whale ship. In 1820, while at sea in the southern Pacific Ocean, the ship was attacked by an abnormally large sperm whale bull, which, by survivors' accounts, measured nearly 85 feet. After lying motionless in front of the Essex, it started swimming towards it, gaining speed by shallow diving. The enormous animal rammed the ship, rocking it from side to side, and then surfaced, stunned, on its starboard side. First mate Owen Chase would remember that the whale had fury and vengeance in his aspect, as again it started to pick up speed and charged the boat with its head halfway above the water. It struck the vessel once more, crushing its bow. The tremendous force of the strike pushed the Essex backwards, and as the bull freed its head from the shattered timbers, a gaping hole was revealed. The whale swam away, never to be seen again, and the crew of the Essex was left desperately struggling to survive. The ship went down, and a 20-strong crew rigged and equipped the remaining whaleboats with whatever they could salvage. Approximately 2,000 nautical miles from the west coast of South America, their ordeal had just begun. With insufficient supplies, they suffered from starvation and dehydration, as well as exposure to the elements. They were lost at sea for months, and those who survived did so by cannibalizing the remains of those who died. The men at one point drew lots to see who they'd sacrifice so that the others could live. In the end, only 8 of them were rescued. Aside from Melville's magnum opus, the book In the Heart of the Sea by Nathaniel Philbrick and the eponymous 2015 film are based on the sailor's ordeal. Thanks for watching. Assuming you'd survive both, would you rather be swallowed whole by a blue whale or crawl 500 feet through a sewage pipeline? Let us know in the comments section below.